Good evening and welcome to a Select Board meeting. It is Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. The purpose for today will be a warrant article review. I'm going to call the meeting to order with a roll call. Sam? I'll make note that Sam is on Zoom. Chris?
I'm here.
Thank you. Derek?
Yep.
And I am here. We're going to start with new business, and that's consideration of a warrant article for the acceptance of Tarklin Hill Road and Shady Lane as a public road. Nathan? Oh.
Or Nathan or Jay, do you want to just give a little background on this?
I think Dave was kind of, he was.
Oh, sure.
We can kind of follow up.
Yeah, I'd like to give you a copy of the petitions for your approval. Separately for Shady Lane and Tarkin Hill Road. I guess that's the other one.
Thank you.
I'll take those for the record. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Oh. Can't read without my glasses. Good evening, Chair and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is David Fawcett. I'm the developer of Tarkin Hill Estates through Enchanted Homes, LLC, and a current president of the Tarkin Hill Estates Lot Owners Association. I live in Standish, via properties in Raymond. I'm here to respectfully request your support in accepting the privately maintained section of Tarkin Hill Road, approximately 5,600 feet long, from the intersection with Shady Lane to the end into the town's public road system. The road serves the Tarkin Hill Estates subdivision approved by the Planning Board and MDEP in 2004 and has provided reliable access for residents ever since. From the outset, this road was constructed privately by Enchanted Homes LLC at no cost to the town or residents, in full alignment with the original 2004 subdivision approval. The project was designed, approved, and built with the clear objective it would ultimately become a town-maintained road. It's been maintained privately since then, roughly 21 years, with no cost to the town, through member dues paid to the Tarkin Hill Estates Lot Owners Association. Tarkin Hill Estates stands as one of Raymond's premier subdivisions, offering elevated sites, exceptional water and mountain views, make it a true asset to the community. Quality shines through every step. I'm not trying to sell you. From thoughtful planning, careful construction to consistent private maintenance over 2 decades. The road is performed reliably with no major issues, serving 18 built-out and occupied lots in Tarkin Hill Estates, plus 5 abutting homes from the older Tarkin Hill subdivision approved in 1973 on that same section of road. So there's a total of 23 households depending on it for primary access. Private maintenance was undertaken to honor the subdivision's intent and ensured safe, consistent access for the families who live there. I've greatly appreciated the guidance and support from our code enforcement officer and road commissioner, who have reviewed the road's history and current condition and both endorse acceptance. To confirm it meets town standards and complete the original developer obligations, I invested nearly $100,000 in the final top course of asphalt completed by Allstate Asphalt last year. This upgrade has brought the road to excellent condition, well drained, smooth, and ready for public acceptance, with proven durability over 2 decades. The residents strongly support this transition. I've enclosed a petition with signatures from the affected households, along with letters of endorsement. Acceptance would promote equity for the community and town. After 21 years of private funding at no town expense, it ensures consistent municipal services for an established residential area, aligning with the public interest and the original subdivision vision. This step completes a commitment to reliable, long-term access without ongoing private burden, allowing Tarkin Hill Estates to fully integrate as a valued part of Raymond's public infrastructure. Chair and board members, thank you for your time and consideration. This request is about fulfilling the subdivision's original intent while providing mutual benefits through reliable public maintenance. I respectfully ask that you approve placing a warrant article on the next town meeting ballot for voter approval of this road section as a public town way. I'm happy to answer any questions and provide additional information.
Board members, do any of you have a question for David? I'm not seeing any. Did you have anything, I think, Jason, to add, or?
No, I mean, the road is in great shape. It's nice and wide. We don't really have, our process for accepting a town road is asking the developers to build it to the standards that they're asked to, and then bring it to the town to vote. So I think it makes sense at this point to let the town decide whether they want to accept the road or not.
I have a clarification question, just to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So Tarkin Hill Road from 85 to Shady Lane is already a
Yeah.
public road?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
when you go right and left. The right, is a dead end.
That
It's the right-
portion is
and then
already-
the left goes all the way up.
The last page of your petition,
Shows the highlighted. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I was getting that
that's
correctly.
the actual section of road that will be,
So this would
I'm
also
requesting.
be, they didn't highlight it, but this is the dead end, but this also, no, then that is this one. You understand? This one comes up, and then this is this goes up to the top of
Right.
the hill, and this takes a right. That's way better. So,
Yes.
this is already town, but it would be this and this and that.
I have a question, actually, I think for Nathan.
Sure.
So, based on your recommendation, what happens if the developer doesn't cut back the right-of-way and address the shoulder work, but we've already accepted this as a town road?
I think we should put language in there when we get ready to do this, that if that process is not completed, then we don't accept it till that is done. The only thing left is to mow the shoulders and clean it up a little bit, and it's a pretty clear, easy process. But I
Okay.
would put language in there that just, we don't do it until that's done.
Okay, so you would want us to consider adding language to the warrant that specifies that out completely?
Yes.
Okay.
When is that supposed to be done?
What's that?
Do you know when that is supposed to be done?
I had just, when I looked at the road, did the inspections on the road, that was the only thing that I saw that needed to be done. The shoulders needed to be mowed back, the brush is encroaching the road pretty good. The shoulders, they put an 1.5-inch overlay on the road. And by our ordinance, it says it's supposed to have gravel backed up. And people have manicured their lawn right to the edge of the pavement. I would, if it was a town road now, we'd leave it. So the spots that I would like some gravel put in, but it's minimal. Shady Lane is done, all done.
Okay. Are there any comments from the public?
Can I just clarify also? So the current warrant article
Can't hear you on Sim.
says, shall the town of Raymond accept Tar Hill Road and Shady Lane as town roads conditioned upon confirmation that these roads meet town standards?
That would probably be, yeah.
That's probably fine.
Yeah, that's fine, I would think.
Yeah, public comment?
Actually, I wanted to talk about Shady Lane.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Shady Lane was part of the old Tarkin Hill Estates subdivision approved in 1973. My father had opened it up. My father was the developer of the old Tarkin Hill Estate subdivision, that lower subdivision on Tarkin Hill Road. He had just opened it up after the town accepted Tarkin Hill Road up to the intersection. He had a heart attack and passed away. He was unable to fulfill his obligations. My mother, in turn, maintained Shady Lane Road, plowing, sanding, etc. For the next, that was in '86, approximately 20 years out of her own pocket. She did try to get it approved by the town, but she lacked the wherewithal and skill sets needed to accomplish that. I took over paying for the road after she ran out of money and in 2006, and I've been maintaining it out of my pocket ever since. That section of road is about 700 feet long, part of the old subdivision. It's built to town road standards, 20 feet wide, etc. The intent, when approved, was to make it into a town road eventually once it was built out. In the past 3 or 4 years, I've invested approximately $60,000 to tear up the old road that was approaching 40 years old. It was cracked up. It was not, there's no way of saving it. And put down new base course, well, substrates, base course, and the finished course of asphalt. Added ditching, crushed rock dams, cut the trees back, all included in that $60,000 expenditures. I'm getting old. I won't be around to pay for the maintenance of that road forever. My father, my mother, never intended to leave this as a mess. I'd like to get it resolved, and that 700-foot section of road only services 4 residents. It would be a hardship, I think, for them to have to create a road association just to maintain it. Shady Lane's over 40 years old. Actually, it's 53 years old if you look at the original subdivision approval before ground was broken. I would genuinely like to get this accepted by the town as a town-maintained road, and that will tie up a long-term loose end.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on Shady Lane?
Yes, actually.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
there's an echo. Can you hear me okay? Is this appropriate?
Yes? Just can't see
Okay,
you.
because the echo is pretty. Okay, I turned on the video. I don't know why it's not. It says stop video, which means the video is on from my end.
You're okay, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, I just want to clarify okay, perfect. I'm in Florida, so I'm honestly super thankful. It sounds like you're speaking from Standish. You're a Standish resident?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because I feel guilty. I'm like, I own land in Raymond, but I'm not up there. I'm reporting from Florida, but I do have quite a few questions.
Can you
So the-
can you tell us your name and
Taylor
your
Winslow, sorry.
and your address in Raymond?
27 Baxter Road.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the development of the subdivision was privately funded.
Yes.
When you first established Tarkland Lane, was that a publicly maintained road, or was there a process just like this to get public funding to maintain that road?
Are you talking about the original Tarkin Hill Estates subdivision?
Yeah, that big road that they said is already publicly maintained. So this is kind of like just a little strip to be added to that.
Yes.
Not to be too brief.
That's the old
that's just my
subdivision
takeaway.
approved in 1973.
Beautiful. When that development was created, how was that road to be maintained?
Initially, my father maintained it because he was a contractor and he had created the subdivision in order to have an inventory of lots so that he could build homes
Right.
on them. So it was a
So
private.
as someone who go ahead.
It was a
Sorry.
private subdivision. All parts of that original Tarkin Hill subdivision was private. And
Thank you.
same process we use today.
Okay. My question, as someone who lives in Florida and obviously has witnessed what developments can do, it's typically a profit-oriented, right? When you create a development and a subdivision, you profit. So being able to maintain your roads, you're earning money while you do that. So it makes sense to me. I'm just going to be honest, and it feels like as a developer, you know, we all know Raymond, right? It's very rural. There's not as many subdivisions, not as much development. It's a little bit more living with the earth, living with nature. With that comes into play taking care of your own. So I love to know that your father, when he created the development, assumed the burden himself, and then it sounds like advocated that the public take over maintaining the road.
The general consensus from most towns is to build out your subdivision by 80%, roughly 80% or more, meaning houses. So all the big equipment building those houses have damaged or scarred up the base course of asphalt, and then
You ain't got to tell me that.
and then the finished course of asphalt can be applied. It looks like brand new, and it's ready for the town to accept.
It just, to be perfectly honest, and I know I'm probably sticking out like a sore thumb with this opinion, it's this really fine line for me as someone who goes between Florida and Maine, and I recognize the pitfalls of development and profit-oriented thinking. I get nervous if we burden locals with an expectation that we're gonna pick up, like, what you're essentially discussing is labor. Maintaining a road is labor. That's time, that's effort. You're gonna have to pay men to do that. And it's gonna come out of the pocket of the public. Meanwhile, we're discussing a private subdivision development. So, and I don't mean to be too intense with this. I think it's the Floridian in me that's watched so much beautiful nature just get turned into cul-de-sacs. I get nervous that if we put the burden on the public, when really, if you're a businessman and you're developing and you're creating a subdivision, wouldn't you allocate a budget to sustain it? as opposed to expect the town to pick up that slack?
The town has made the option available at the time of subdivision approval. The roads could have been smaller, could have been less infrastructure if it were to remain private. Instead, as the developer, I wanted a nice country road. There's a 50-acre open space attached to the subdivision with trails, nature trails, vernal pools. It's a beautiful place. Beautiful
I believe
views.
that, and no part of Raymond isn't.
Taylor?
I know that.
Can I
Yes.
ask that you let him answer your question, please?
And so it's essentially the decision of the developer at the time of preliminary approval to decide whether they, in the end, they intend to make it a town subdivision, town road, town maintained road in the subdivision, or whether that
Which
subdivision
is the
will
difference that costs.
remain private to eternity, or until somebody upgrades it to town road standards. So essentially, the developer chooses one or the other with the assumption the town will someday accept it, or at least it will be acceptable by the town if built to those standards.
So we're all okay with the developer coming
Taylor?
in?
I've given you approximately 4 minutes, and there are other people waiting to speak. I'm going
So are you
to.
dismissing my concerns as invalid because you can't keep up? I'm confused, Caleb.
Nope, I'm not dismissing your
Currently,
concerns.
there's-
I've allowed you to speak.
Currently,
And-
there's probably $18 to $20 million worth of real estate in the
That's what I'm
section
talking
of
about. Where are your
Tarpon Hill.
profit margins at?
They are paying
With
private
the special
to,
development, we should be getting to the meat of this discussion, which is what is somebody earned?
they are
Taylor,
paying huge taxes as well
Profiting off of
as
a town-
association
Okay,
fees.
Taylor.
David? That's okay. Taylor, I would like to just stay on topic, and I think you're moving a little bit further away
That's the
from
topic.
what we're discussing.
The topic is, you're
Taylor,
requesting
you've had your
public funding
time.
for private-
You've had your time. Thank you
I
very
want my
much for
time,
your
but we haven't
comment.
reached out for clarity.
Jeff, you've been waiting to speak. Go ahead.
She's on Raymond's sentence. She just owns property.
Oh, we're on to the next subject, yeah, I'll take it.
I'm just going to put that there real quick. My name is Jeff Grigsby. I'm at 27 Tarkhill Hill. So I'm one of the 5 homes that's sort of in the middle between Shady Lane and the newer development, which is that red area right there. That is a fairly steep incline. So my concern is I've been paying taxes. I'm not part of the new development. When I purchased, we haven't been paying any dues. We've just been paying taxes and assuming that the town was maintaining that part of the road. But then it became, I've been there for 18 years now. Obvious pretty quickly that that wasn't happening. So while they've done a good job maintaining that 500-ish foot stretch of road, it's not to the same standard. And so when you get to that T, the road is no longer salted, sanded, any of those things. It's just plowed, and it becomes, I'm not going to say necessarily dangerous, but if you don't have a 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicle, oftentimes you can't get through that section to get beyond it. Sometimes it's been very difficult to get to our driveway. So I guess the only reason I'm really here is, regardless of how this works out, I would really like to see that portion maintained by the town that we've been paying tax for 18 years, so that it's easy to get up and down, because if you're sliding backwards down a hill out of control, it's not a great situation. That's about it.
Is there anybody else? Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Kevin McKay. My wife and I live at 38 Tarkhill Hill. Appreciate the board reviewing this matter. For us, as earlier stated, it's a safety and peace of mind issue for us. Over the years, we've lived there since 2016. Private plowing contractors are at times unreliable in terms of timing, but especially with treatment of a significantly sloped road. Countless times as I go down the hill, you get to the T of Shady Lane in Tarkill Hill, you see the well-plowed, well-treated road from there out to Route 85, but all the way up this section. Again, it's hit or miss with treatment on the road. So for us, it does come back to a public safety issue for all of us there, and would strongly encourage the board to support this measure. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road, just real quickly, from a perspective of what the last gentleman was just saying as far as safety, that would be my primary concern. What I've heard is that really from a planning perspective, Raymond is basically populated with private roads, and we know that. And I know that it's a cost to the taxpayer in order to accept a road. But when you're talking about subdivisions and something over 15, 20, 40 units, then you start thinking in terms of what we want to do is start adopting these. We'll adopt them eventually anyway. It's just really a matter of what we can take on right now. And like I say, it's a safety issue. These roads have to be brought up to town standard to be accepted. And quite honestly, what the planning board, I would hope, would be looking at is passing ordinances where whenever you have 2 or more abutting developments, that they are connected, because that is also a safety factor as far as getting rescue and fire there. So I would certainly be in support of putting this on the warrant and seeing if the taxpayer has an appetite for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? I'm not seeing any hands on Zoom. Chris or Sam, did you have any other further questions?
I have no further questions.
Okay, Derek?
I do. I don't know who probably knows this better, but Nate, that gentleman, or Jeff, but nobody else has this, but Jeff just handed this to me. The yellow section and the red section is the pavement. I guess I'll back up. The Shady Lane and Tarklin Hill that you just repaved or whatever, that section's obviously new and all that. Does that stop, that part that you just paved on Tarklin Hill, does that stop where Shady Lane starts, or does it stop where I think he's talking about, which is at the base of the hill?
So I can do this real quick.
Okay.
Shady Lane was rebuilt 2 years ago. The base put down.
Okay.
Last year they did a surface pavement over the whole thing, right up over the top. So it's consistently paved exactly the same. And
so the top lane of Shady went from there past this red section and all the way to the top?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Before you sit down, Nathan, just to address some of the earlier comments, do you have a sense of the general fiscal cost to acceptance of a road of this size?
So the condition of the road right now, for us to do anything other than minor maintenance for the next probably 20 years on that, plowing's going to be the biggest thing. We're probably 8 minutes plowing up there. So it's a very, very minimal cost. We're not going to add a truck. We're not adding a person. We're just adding about 8 more minutes of his travel on that route. So short answer, no, I don't have an exact number, but it's a minimal amount of money, something I didn't even add to the budget for it. The rest of it will add to the paving 20 years down the road.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have no further questions, so if the board would like to make a motion, in support of consideration of a warrant article for the acceptance of Tarklin Hill Road and Shady Lane as a public road, and we'd be adding this to the warrant.
I could make that motion, Kayla.
Didn't we have one?
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second? Derek? All those in favor of adding this to the warrant article?
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. Sam, I will need your verbal confirmation since you're on Zoom. I'm going to mark him as abstained. Sam, are you able to unmute quickly just to vote on this? This will still carry, correct? Because there's still a quorum and we have a number in favor. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mark Sam as abstained. All right, next under new business is review the warrant articles for finalization and provide recommendations. We're going to start at the top and move down.
Kayla, did you want me to give that overview of the change log from the workshop?
Absolutely, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Sorry. Hey, Bill, would you mind making me the host for 1 second?
Sure.
Just going to share my screen. Thank you.
You should be all set.
Thank you. Great. So, obviously, the culmination of all the workshops we've had since February leads to the drafting of these warrant articles. So I just wanted to give an overview since our last workshop, because there were some changes since we last met with the Budget Finance Committee. Again, just a quick overview for the public on the municipal budget. So in FY27, the total gross budget is around 27 million. To be raised from taxation is 23 million. 85.2% of that comes from property taxes. Education is a little less than 50% of the increase this year and 70% of the total levy. This is what's driving our increase going into FY27. Roughly 47% of that increase is outside local control. 17.2% is largely fixed expenses, debt service, benefits, and insurance. Some of that we can partially control. We did that with some of the solid waste contract adjustments from the last workshop. And then 15% is local discretion, our line item budget. Since our last workshop, there's been $328,095 in reductions. The biggest driver for that was we were able to remove a debt service payment, and you'll see on the draft warrant article that was a debt service payment that we budgeted for this year. We will be taking delivery of the fire apparatus in September. We don't have to make payments until it's delivered. So we'll be carrying forward that budgeted payment into next year's budget. We also noticed a double count where that was included in debt service and in capital requests. So capital requests was reduced. And 100,000 was added to the Public Works Capital Reserve, which Nate can expand on if there's a question later. After the last workshop, we removed the purchase of the toters that was budgeted. We'll be deferring that to FY28. That's your garbage cans that you'll be getting next year for the automated pickup. I also added the lease program for the fleet management and reduced the RTP microtransit budget request from 75,000 down 49,400, and we can talk a little bit more about that later when we get to that warrant article. Historically, the board offsets some of the increase with fund balance. There is an article later that will authorize the usage of fund balance. This is what it looks like if you were to use fund balance. I don't recommend using it for recurring expenses, but one-time offsets don't create structural deficits in your budget, but you can use it per your policy for either lowering the mill rate or one-time expenses. Using the most available, which you've historically done, would bring your yearly increase for an average $300,000 home to a $285 increase, as opposed to $329 with no usage of fund balance. This is just sort of a comparison, Raymond, in context, that was from the last presentation. But this is, the 2024 commitment was the only data available to me statewide. So based on the 2024 commitment, Raymond's equalized mill rate is about $8, which is one of the lowest in the county, aside from Harpswell, and maybe one or two others. statewide. Your average is 8, state average is 10, equalized. And what that looks like, so your current last year's commitment, your posted mill rate's about 1880. Your assessed ratio is 55%, which means homes are valued about 55% relative to current market value. So your effective mill rate as of last year is around $10.34 compared to Gorham, which is assessed at 100%. It's about a $4 and change difference. But again, the total increase with school and county is roughly 10.6%, which is down from 12 from the last meeting. And the municipal portion is hovering around 5%. 64% of that increase is driven by education, county tax, and fixed obligations. Staff and school help too, they reduced since introduction. So we're down about 679 from introduction. And if full usage of fund balance, which I don't recommend, to offset the millage would bring you to about 9.2% total. So on an equalized basis, Raymond remains one of the lowest mill rates in the county and in the state. And again, that 8 number is from your 2024 commitment because that was the only data available at the time of available to me.
Does the board have any questions regarding this budget synopsis?
Oh, and I'll just go through the change log real quick if I didn't hit them all. That was that debt service payment that was removed, the toters, reduction to CIP, a reduction to RTP. There was a slight adjustment from the draft you saw Friday where I moved the PACS dues to the admin contracts line only because that's required as part of the federal requirements of the MPO. And I just didn't want it on that article in case it failed. We'd still have to pay it. And then I put legal back to the original budget amount as requested by the boards. And then again, adding that lease enterprise program into the public works equipment line. So that is the synopsis from the last workshop.
Any questions on that from the board?
No questions, Kayla.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any. Okay, I think we're okay now to start moving into the warrant articles. And just, I guess, a little housekeeping. What I'm going to do is read each one, ask for public comment, and I will respectfully ask that you try to maintain to 3 minutes. I will loosely keep track of that time. That helps us move along and gives everybody an opportunity to speak. And then I will ask for a motion, second, and vote. And when we do this, I will be asking us to approve the article and also whether we recommend or don't recommend included in that motion. I think it's fair to say that Article 1 and 2 are pretty standard and don't require anything. Melanie, do we have to vote to accept those? Or
No, those, like you said, those are very standard. It just introduces that the first step of the morning on election day is to elect a moderator, and then on a separate ballot is the candidates, which is in Article 2, and then so the real meat of what we need to go through tonight is starting on Article 3 and then beyond.
thank you for making sure I'm on track. So Article 3, referendum question A, to see if the town will vote to, 1, set the date the first half of taxes due to November 2nd, 2026, and the second half of taxes due to April 30th, 2027. 2, set the interest rate for unpaid balances and for abated taxes at 7% per annum for the fiscal year. 3, authorize the tax collector or treasurer to accept prepayments of taxes not yet committed pursuant to 36 MRSA Section 506 with no interest. And 4, authorize the Select Board on behalf of the town to sell and dispose of any property acquired by the town for non-payment of taxes pursuant to the policy adopted by the Select Board as may be amended from time to time. The policy to remain consistent with state statutes and laws, in all cases conveyance to be made by municipal quitclaim deed. Are there any public comment on this article? I'm not seeing any. I would be looking for a motion to approve this article and include our recommendation in that motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
All right, and then just to be clear, the motion is to approve Article 3, and the Select Board will recommend question A. And all
Correct.
those, okay, thank you. All those in favor, Derek and I have our hands up. Can you vote, Chris, with an affirmative yes?
Yes.
And Sam, can I get your vote if you're there? I'm not seeing Sam on the screen, so I'm going to record him as abstain. All right, moving on to Article 4. Referendum question B, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,222,764 for general government services, which include administration, assessing, code enforcement, employee benefits, general assistance, insurances, and technology. The budget figures are listed. I guess I should read those off. Administration, $845,743. Assessing, $107,985. Code enforcement, $244,650. Employee benefits, $1,552,376. General assistance, $15,000. Insurance, workers' comp, $214,810, and technology, $242,200. Is there any public comment on this article? I'm not seeing any. Is there any comment by the board?
No.
So I will go ahead and entertain a motion, please.
I'll make a motion. We approve Article 4 with a recommendation from the board.
Second.
All right, and all those in favor?
That's a yes.
Thank you, Chris. And I'm going to mark Sam as abstained again. I don't see him on the screen. Moving on to Article 5. That's referendum question C, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $461 for Public Works. The budget figures will be assigned as follows. Public Works, $1,273,521. Town Buildings, $111,190. Solid Waste, $664,750. Is there any public comment regarding this article? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Are there any questions? This is probably what I should have asked from the board first.
I have one. What did we finalize on solid waste on containers?
Let me pull up the,
For pricing or?
Yeah, so
you were gonna purchase,
Right.
Rich, do you know the total
Purchase.
amount for the purchase?
404,000.
okay,
And that can be
that's-
deferred till next year because it'll take 18 months before they're delivered.
okay, so that's not in here yet.
No.
The cans.
Correct.
Correct.
Any other clarifying questions from the
What are we
board?
calling those? Cans, totes?
They call them containers, totes.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions from the board. I would then entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept Article 5 with a recommendation from the board.
Second.
Second, thank you, Derek. I don't see Sam on the screen. Any discussion, further discussion? Not seeing any. And I'll go ahead and show of hands of those here. Derek?
I'm in favor.
Thank you, Chris. All Right, moving on to Article 6, referendum question D, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $36,500 from the Cemetery Trust Fund Restricted Fund for cemetery maintenance and operations. Any comment from the public on this item? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Any questions?
Very unokay with a lot of your choices.
Okay, thank you, Taylor. Does the Select Board have any clarifying questions on this article? Not seeing any. I'd entertain a motion then.
I'll move that we approve Article 6 with board recommendation.
Second.
This feels a bit like rinse and repeat. All right, any discussion? Not seeing any. We'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. And still marking Sam as abstained. Article 7, referendum question E, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,780,271 for public safety. The budget figures will be assigned as follows. Fire and Rescue Department is $1,731,451. Animal Control, $48,820. Any comment from the public on this? Not seeing any. Any questions from the board for clarification? Not seeing any. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion. I will go ahead and make a motion to accept Article 7, referendum question E, as written in the warrant, with the Select Board recommending. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Derek. And all those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Thank you, Chris. And Sam abstains. Article 8, referendum question F, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to dispose of town-owned personal property with value not to exceed $75,000. Any public comment on this article? I'm not seeing any in here or on Zoom. Any clarifying questions from the board? Okay, I'd entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we move Article 8 with recommendation from the board.
And a second? Thank you, Derek. All those in favor?
Yes,
Thank you. Sorry, I skipped discussion.
it's okay.
And again, marking Sam as abstained. Article 9, referendum question G, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to appropriate from undesignated fund balance, which is surplus, to meet the unanticipated needs of the community that occurred during the fiscal year, and/or to adjust the tax rate as the Select Board deem advisable, an amount not to exceed $75,000. Any public comment on this item? Okay, I'm not seeing any in-house or on Zoom. Any clarifying questions or concerns from the board?
No,
Okay, I would then entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we move Article 9 with board recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion?
No,
Okay, all those in favor?
yes.
And again, make it be known that Sam has abstained. Article 10, referendum question H, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to transfer funds between appropriation accounts as long as the grand total of all appropriation is not exceeded. Any such transfers to be approved only at the properly called public meeting of the Select Board. Any public comment? Okay. Questions from the board? All right, I'd entertain a motion then.
Make a motion to move Article 10 with board recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
So yes.
Thank you, Chris. And again, make note that Sam has abstained. Article 11, referendum question I. To see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to allow town staff to make application for and execute any documents related to a grant, accept or reject grants, donations, and/or gifts of money to the town of Raymond, and authorize the expenditure of monies awarded, donated, and/or gifted for the purposes specified in the grant, donation, and/or gift. Any questions from, or comment from the public? Okay, seeing none. Any questions from the board? Okay, go ahead and entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion, we move Article 9 with board recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Yes.
And Sam has abstained. Article 12, referendum question J, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to appropriate from undesignated fund balance, which is surplus, to an amount not to exceed $300,000 for any one or more of the following purposes as the select board deems advisable: to reduce the property tax commitment, to fund one-time capital expenditures or equipment reserves, or to apply toward capital improvements or debt reduction, provided that any such appropriation shall be consistent with the town's undesignated fund balance policy and shall not reduce the undesignated fund balance below 15% of the prior year's tax commitment. Any public comment on this article? Okay. Any questions from the board to clarify?
I'd just like to clarify that that 300,000 is the maximum amount. We're not obligated to do that. We can do any amount up to that.
Thank you, Chris. Any others? Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we move Article 12 with select board recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
So yes.
Chris. And Sam abstains. Article 13, referendum question K, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to appropriate from the overlay account as much as may be necessary for the payment of tax abatements, the defense of property tax valuations in proceedings before the Board of Assessment Review or in Superior Court, and professional appraisal or consulting services related to tax assessment matters. Any public comment regarding this item? Okay, seeing none. Any questions or clarifying remarks from the board? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to move Article 13 with select board recommendation.
Second.
Thank you, Derek. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
So yes.
And we'll be marking Sam as abstained. Article 14, referendum question L, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $546,183 for the tax increment of the Pipeline Route 32 Tax Increment Financing District for FY 2026 to 2027 project proposed in the Tax Increment Financing District Development Program. For details, see voter guide section number 1. Any comments from the public regarding this article?
Route 302.
Sorry, thank you. Okay, seeing none. Any discussion or clarifications from the board?
That was mine.
All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we move Article 14 with Select Board recommendation.
Second?
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Yes.
And Sam has abstained. Article 15. Referendum question M, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate an additional $281,300 to the general government appropriation for recreation programs and services, which amount shall be recorded and expended as part of the general government appropriation. 2, appropriate $155,700 from the Tasseltop Park Enterprise Fund for the administration of activities at Tasseltop Park. The enterprise fund may raise additional revenues beyond the appropriated amount necessary to cover actual operating expenses, and all such revenues shall be recorded in and retained by the Tasseltop Park Enterprise Fund. And 3, appropriate $196,300 from the Recreational Programs Special Revenue Fund for the administration of recreation program activities. The Special Revenue Fund may raise additional revenues beyond the appropriated amount as necessary to cover actual operating expenses, and all such revenues shall be recorded in and retained by the Recreation Programs Special Revenue Fund. Any comment from the public on this article? Seeing none. Any questions or clarification from the board? Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to move Article 15 with board recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to add that this is a new article. We condensed it down and wanted to make it so it was clear to the voter that not all of it is raised from taxation. So we made the article read, the first portion is raised from taxation and the other two are from those revenue accounts. There's also a slight change to the language because the previous year's articles sort of read as a hard cap, but like if we have 100 kids and we anticipate 100 kids get on a bus, and we have 200, we'll take in more in fees but have to order another bus. So it just allows them to take in more revenues than we're guessing if we have more successful programs and need to cover those expenses, for those sort of reasons.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I would just say that I appreciate the breakdown. It makes it a lot easier for me personally to understand how Tasseltop and the rec department works together.
Okay. I would. All those in favor?
Yes.
And I'll just make note that Sam has abstained. Article 16, referendum question N, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $756,988 for debt services. The budget figures will be assigned as follows to include any interest variance. A, debt service bond payment FY 2022, original debt $489,250 with $58,064. Debt service bond payment FY 2023, original debt $1,150,000, $257,600. Debt service bond payment FY 2024, original debt $748,318. $253,976. This should say D instead of A.
Oh, yep, that's a typo. That'll be D.
Okay. Debt service lease payment FY 2025, original debt $1,447,746 plus interest, annual payment of $187,348 carried forward from FY 26, deferred until FY 27 and carried forward. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none. Any questions or clarifications from the board?
So to be clear on D, is that the purchase of the ladder truck?
Yes, and that would be carrying forward the budgeted payment from this year into next year.
Thank you.
Any other questions for clarification? The board? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I would go ahead and entertain a motion.
I'll move Article 16 with Select Board recommendation.
Second.
Can I make a friendly that we just make sure that, that the D is
Yep.
with the edit, that A is changed to D. Second, thank you. I'm sorry, did you second?
Yep. Yeah, Sam didn't this time, so.
All right, all those in favor?
That's a yes.
And Sam abstains. Article 17, referendum question O, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $243,026 for the Raymond Village Library. Any public comment regarding this item? Okay, seeing none here and on Zoom. Any questions or clarification from the board? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to move Article 17 with Select Board recommendation.
I'll second that one.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Yes.
And Sam abstains. Article 18, referendum question P, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,232,211 for the capital improvement program. The budget figures will be assigned as follows. Raise and appropriate Public Works equipment, $425,000, Public Works paving, $450,000, Public Safety Fire Reserve, $232,711, Municipal Facilities, $35,000, please add the comma.
Yep.
Reevaluation Reserve, $40,000, Technology, $49,500. Any public comment on this? Seeing none. Questions or clarification from the board? Okay. I would entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion to move Article 18 with Select Board recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Yes.
And make a note that Sam abstains. Article 19, referendum question Q, to see whether the town will vote to carry forward any existing fund balance in the capital improvement program CIP accounts, the healthcare reimbursement accounts, HRA, and the employee compensation account. Any public comment regarding this article? All right, seeing none, any questions for clarification from the board?
No.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to move Article 19 with Select Board recommendation.
Second that.
And any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
It's a yes.
Sam abstains. Article 20, referendum question R, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $33,734 for community services and provider agencies to be allocated as follows. Regional Transportation, $13,000, Lakes Region Explorer, which is a fixed route service, $12,600, which is the RTP microvan service. Provider agencies, $1,500 for Crescent Lake Watershed Association, $3,000 for Spurwink Services, $1,134 for Life Flight of Maine, $1,500 for Southern Maine Agency on Aging, $1,000, which is the town manager's discretion. Any public comment regarding this article?
I do, Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
Okay. Go ahead.
Service, is that accurate?
Oh, can you just, since you're on Zoom, can you introduce yourself and then?
I'm sorry, Sean McKillop, 84 Main Street.
And can you repeat? I think you froze on the screen, so.
Sure. The 12,600 for the RTP microvan service, is that accurate? Is that number accurate?
Yeah, do you want me to go into the whole thing now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
great. So after the last workshop, when RTP presented, there was discussion among the boards about discontinuing the microvan transit service. There seemed to be consensus that we would consider funding the match for the 5310 federal grant, which would be an 80-20 split. RTP has made application for the RTP microvan service. The Transit Task Force meets on April 9th, where they'll get a determination if they got that funding. So this $12,600 would be our match portion. The logic behind that, and RTP was talking about it, it takes time to grow these and it doesn't scale. The cost per ride is high. So we're going to ask GPCOG and the feds, why don't you subsidize the service to see if it's successful? And that way the grant can fund the operation of it. And then the 13 is the restoration of the fixed route stop, which went away. A lot of this grant funding is contingent on having how far you are from a fixed route stop. So you may inadvertently make yourself ineligible if you remove the fixed route stop and apply for the subsidy. So the $12,600 is the match portion of the grant, Sean. So it reduced the request from his initial $75,000 down to $25,600.
Thank you.
And I'll just also add that there are other provider agencies that made requests, but they are in your TIF spending plan. That's why they're not included on that article.
I have a follow-up question.
Go ahead.
How likely are they to get that grant?
We'll find out on April 9th. As my understanding is they just need to ask.
So what do we do if they don't get the grant?
That likely would not be enough to fund the service, and then the service would go away. That part of it. You would still have the Lakes Region Explorer. And if that's the case on April 9th, I would recommend terminating the contract sooner than later, and then perhaps saving on this year's budget if the ridership is as low as they indicate.
Thank you.
I was looking at this one too with all the uncertainty and the moving parts on this. I was seeing if we could recommend separating these articles. So Article 20 would be the regional transportation, and then making a new article of Article 21 for the provider agencies, just so that we don't lump them all together. If, some people feel so strongly on the regional transportation one that we don't handcuff ourselves with the other provider agencies that are lumped in.
Chris, do you have any strong feelings regarding
Yeah, I
that?
don't think that's a bad idea for the amount of effort it's going to take to add Article 21. I think Derek's correct.
Or we can make it
Contingent?
no, we could make it we can make the second one Article 30, so we don't screw up Caleb for the rest of this night.
Oh,
Figure
okay.
out which one we're on.
I can handle it, but okay. Would you like it to be together? I would kind of prefer to be together if you don't
Me
mind,
too.
and
As
I'll
long as you
just
can handle it.
handle it. So I'm not sure that I need to read that over,
No, I think you're all set.
but I think we can make that work with our motions. Is there any public comment now that there's been some explanation? All right, I'm not seeing any. Any more questions for clarification from the board? I'm not seeing any. I do also agree with separating them out. I like that idea. And I'm happy to see the fixed route service come back on the plate.
Oh, I do have one more on that. I mean, not as far as this goes, but I think just research-wise goes, we might have to move that. I mean, there's probably other places that we can do it, no problem, but I think we do have to check into that because I know that property has been sold since the last time they used that stop, so.
I'll let Don know.
Okay, I would be looking for a. I'll go ahead and make one. So I move to.
Can we permanently move?
I'm just getting an echo.
Yeah, it's
it's-
somebody on Zoom has their audio on and it just keeps recycling through.
I'm going to try again. So I make a motion to approve Article 20 to include regional transportation only and not the other provider agencies with a select board recommendation.
Second.
I'll second that.
I beat him. I mean, I really did.
Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
That's a yes for me, Caleb. I still got the echo.
I'm going to mark Sam as abstained. And then I would make I would ask for a motion that would be Article 21 for the remaining provider agencies.
I'll make that motion that we add Article 21 for the provider agencies with board recommendation.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Can't imagine. All those in favor?
Yes.
And Sam will be marked as abstained. So this will be Article 22. Referendum question S, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the total sum of $2,256,072 from the estimated non-property tax revenues to reduce the property tax commitment together with all categories of funds which may be available from the federal government and any other sources. Any public comment regarding this article? I'm not seeing any questions from the board.
None.
Okay, I would go ahead and entertain a motion for what is now Article 22.
I'll make a motion that we move Article 22 with board recommendation.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing any, all those in favor?
Yes.
And Sam abstains. Article 23, referendum question. Uh-oh. I have to change that too. Can we just make a note that it would be Article 22, referendum question T? All right, so this would be Article 23, referendum question U. To see if the town will vote to accept certain state funds as provided by the Maine State Legislature during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026, and any other funds provided by any other entity including but not limited to municipal revenue sharing, local road assistance, emergency management assistance, snowmobile registration money, homestead exemption, tree growth reimbursement, general assistance reimbursement, veterans exemption reimbursement, business equipment tax exemption, which is BETI reimbursement, state grant or other funds. Any questions from the public regarding this? Okay, seeing none. Questions or clarifications from the board?
None.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for what is now Article 23, question U.
I'll make a motion that we move Article 23, referendum question U, with board recommendation.
Second.
Thank you, Derek. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Yes.
Sam abstains. Moving on to what is now Article 24, referendum question V. To see if the town will vote to authorize the use of town employees and/or town-owned equipment or independent contractors hired by the town for maintenance on private roads in special and certain circumstances where in the public's interest. Public comment regarding this article. Okay, seeing none, questions or clarifications from the board? Also seeing none, I'd go ahead and entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we move Article 24, referendum question V, with board recommendation.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Yes.
Sam abstains. Article 25, referendum question W.
That's the last time you have to do this.
No.
Yeah, this one good. 25's gone.
Oh, okay, thank you.
We're back on track.
To see if the town will vote to appropriate from undesignated fund balance $564,531.25 for the employee benefits liability. Any public comment regarding this article? Seeing none, discussion questions or clarification from the board? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we move Article 25, referendum question W, with board recommendation.
Second that.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Yes.
And Sam abstains. So, for all those on Zoom, the next article has been stricken out, so we will move to Article 26.
Do you want me to just give an overview of what struck out?
Yes,
Okay.
you could do that.
So over the past couple of years, as your school assessment has been rising, you have to float more cash as you go into when tax bills are due. So you get low on cash reserves because you commit late. Initially, I wanted to add an article to allow for the ability to take out a tax anticipation note because we don't see those revenues until November. But as I was waiting for legal's response, under the statute, the board can take out a TAN without voter authorization. If you'd like, you can leave the language in, but then I would have to hire bond counsel to draft it like a bond ordinance and put it in as an authorization. But under the statute, you can take out a TAN if you need to without voter authorization. So that has been stricken after getting confirmation from the town attorney.
Any questions for clarification again from the public? Okay, and from the board?
None.
Okay.
No.
All right. We don't need a motion. We just go by it. All right. Article.
We're back on track now.
We're back on track, but not all the way. So Article 26, but it will have to be referendum question X. Shall Article 9(3)(a)(2), off-street parking, and Article 12.2, terms defined of the land use ordinance as adopted May 21st, 1994, and amended through June 10th, 2025, be further amended by adding the underscored language and removing the language in strikeout text as in the voter guide section 2. There's a question mark. Oh, yeah, yes. A full copy of the full text of the proposed change is available for review and inspection at the town clerk's office on the town's website or at the polling place prior to voting. Any comments from the public? All right, I'm seeing none on this one. Any questions or clarifications from the board? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we move Article 26, referendum question, we on X?
We're on X, yep.
With board recommendation.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
So yes.
All right, Sam abstains. Article 27, referendum question Y, shall, and Article 9.28, medical cannabis cultivation facilities, and Article 12.2, terms defined of the land use ordinance as adopted May 21st, 1994, and amended through June 10th, 2025, be further amended by adding the underscored language and removing the language in strikeout text as in voter guide section number 3. Again, a copy of the full text of the proposed ordinance. Proposed change is available for review and inspection at the town clerk's office, on the town website, or at the polling place prior to voting. Any public comment regarding this?
Good night, Brenda.
Good night now.
I am seeing none. Any questions for clarification from the board? I am seeing none. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion, we move Article 27, referendum question Y, with board recommendation.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
It's a yes for me.
Thank you. And Sam abstains. Article 28, referendum question Z. Shall an ordinance entitled Short-Term Rental Registration Ordinance be enacted? A copy of the full text of the proposed ordinance is available for review and inspection at the town clerk's office, at the town's website, and at the polling place prior to voting. This will be voter guide section number 4. Is there any public comment regarding this question? Go ahead.
Good evening, Mark Meister, representing 13 Cedar Lane, Raymond resident. I think this topic has obviously been quite a discussion in the town for some time, and we have made a lot of progress on the ordinance. I think where there's a couple, where we really need to be clear and where I think this ordinance needs more time and thought and consideration is the level of rushness in the last few meetings and the subjectivity as written. If you go through the ordinance, for example, in the most recent copy, 3 documented complaints will result in a violation, will result in a non-renewal. There's no substantiation required in that language. That means as an organized group in this town, neighbors can go against neighbors, and we will end up in a neighbor versus neighbor complaint versus complaint that is going to be litigated at every level of town government and all the way through the courts. So it is not written at a level that is, I think, objective and measurable. For 1, around violations, 2, around occupancy. We made great progress on occupancy, and then at the last minute, we moved to what is completely subjective. It's great for, I think we now are able to say, here's a baseline of what that occupancy can be, but the code enforcer ultimately has full control to override that occupancy based on their own discretion. So again, another area where our ordinances need to be based in fact, data, content, and things that are measurable. We have incredible subjectivity in this ordinance, and there's a lot of passion on both sides of this issue. This will pit neighbor versus neighbor, owner, short-term rental owner versus local resident. Another that goes the 3-strike rule. Same with the like I said, code enforcement subjectivity, same around occupancy limit and framework, same around emergency response, that they must respond. How do we measure and understand this, and what's that response? What is that going to be? How do we measure any of this? The key around fines and delinquency, it's any amount. It doesn't really be, it's not really clear, it's not specific. We haven't quite figured out the fee schedule. It creates a lot of disputes and billing errors, and potential billing errors. This idea of substantiated complaint. What's the definition of a substantiated complaint? Who's going to measure that? We're going to all go to zoning boards of appeal. And when we get into these points, I think what's going to happen is neighbors are now going to video, which has happened already at our property. Neighbors are going to take pictures of of their neighbors. They're going to record videos. They're going to say they were noisy. We're going to have to define what noisy is. We're going to have guests who are going to get recorded, young families, women, who have already reported concerns about being recorded by neighbors. And now we're going to exacerbate that with subjectivity. So I just think we're setting ourselves up for what is meant as good intention is just not there yet, and we should not bring this to the town to vote quite yet. A registration ordinance would have been, I think, a lot better to measure data, because again, from the beginning of this process, we have not hired any companies, we have not done any studies, we have not done we don't have any sort of data on how many rentals there are. We don't have any data on how many noise complaints there have been, so we continue to see, we're just basing this off of a group of people who have a point of view, but we don't have the facts and the data, so we, again, must go back to that. And the last piece I would put is, even in this other meetings, we keep hearing this, what I'll call this bias, out-of-state corporations buying up our homes, and we gotta protect the family-owned camps. Why are we as a town remotely trying to understand why people own property, who they are, their motivations behind renting it? That is none of our business as a town to regulate or understand the motivations behind properties. And again, if these concerns, where is the data to show that we have out-of-state corporations that are making for-profit purchase? Where it is becoming just giant hearsay pitchfork mentality, we have to move back to data, logic, facts. This ordinance does not match other town ordinances. And when you look at other towns like Casco, have we contacted them? They enacted an ordinance years ago. It is a dead ordinance. Nobody uses it. Everyone registers their property. There's no complaints. It's not in action. So we're about to open up a highly divisive topic to the entire town in the midst of a lot going on with a reassessment. I think we should really take a second piece. And the last piece is, given some of our select board are paid by the town in code enforcement, there are concerns that there could be financial gain by additional inspections and overtime hours for people who are in public office and also getting paid by the town, which does create a bias and a conflict of interest that some should possibly not vote or recuse themselves from this process.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment regarding this article?
Hi, yes. I would like to say I really, really appreciate his comment. I think rushing is the biggest mistake.
I'm sorry, can you please introduce yourself and provide your address in Raymond?
Once again, certainly, Taylor Winslow, as it says on my camera screen, Taylor Winslow, which you disabled the video and muted me repeatedly. Taylor Winslow, 27 Baxter Road. I just really discourage rushing. I've noticed you guys do that a lot. Don't do that. Don't rush. You brought up a lot of good points. Those were really valid, very rational, very well articulated points. Please don't rush, Kayla.
Okay, any other comment? Sorry.
Thank you. Good evening, Mike Richmond, 15 Cedar Lane. I'll try to be as brief as possible and only touch on things that have not been said so far in previous meetings. Here as a resident and also here as a member of the Raymond Short-Term Rental Initiative, I'm hoping that you all recently received some letters of support over the last few weeks, which has been great. I want to equally important is the fact that several residents have reached out to us as a group and offering our support, but they're afraid to write letters out of fear of reactions from the short-term rental properties that they live next to. They said they're bullied and threatened in lawsuits, and they don't feel comfortable speaking up. These are Raymond residents, your constituents, who feel that they cannot express their voices. And there were a bunch of them. Some quick facts. These have not been stated yet, to my knowledge. Every new business in the town of Raymond is required to come to you, the Select Board, for consideration and approval. But a year-round short-term rental business is not. Why are they exempt from this process? Fact. Raymond is bordered by towns that have their own short-term rental ordinances in place. And without one, Raymond is really seen as more desirable for these types of businesses to set up shop here. Fact. If you run a respectful rental property here in town, like a hotel, motel, bed and breakfast, then this ordinance will actually help you protect your investment. It'll help ensure that those businesses and those owners will have to run a responsible property and help keep up with the same standards that you have to. Fact. The state of Maine mandate, LD 1829, states that Raymond has to find ways to provide more housing. But think about it. Allowing a property to be developed or made into a rental property seems to go against that mandate. In other words, if a property is being used solely as a short-term rental, that's another property that's not available for a family. So right now, there's no limits to how many people they can host at a property. Their septic system may be designed for 6, yet they can advertise and house as many as they want. The driveway, a lot of them on these tight roads, may safely hold 2 cars, but they can advertise it has 12 beds. So right now, they can maximize their profits, and right now there's no oversight in place. The fact that people have said this is rushed is very surprising to me. This has been years in the making, years. Couple quick assumptions. This ordinance will have a negative effect on property values. Can anyone here explain how having a short-term rental helps our property values as a town? Yes, they certainly help the short-term rental owners, since they're making a lot of money, and therefore their property may be worth more desirable to other short-term rental owners. But how does it help property values of us regular year-round citizens? Another assumption. This ordinance will have a negative effect on the local economy. We don't understand this one either. It does not limit the amount of short-term rental properties or cause any existing ones to be shut down unless they're being disrespectful or unsafe. So the current local companies, the cleaners, the trash companies, and all those things employed by these businesses, they'll still be able to provide the same service. None of that should change with this ordinance. Almost done. This ordinance cannot be funded by the town. Well, no, not at the moment. But the town can set up this fee structure to make this all self-funding. It does not need to cost taxpayers a penny. Another assumption, this ordinance cannot be enforced by the town. Yes, it can, with the current officer and possibly another part-time or full-time position. And very carefully, there's local companies that have developed software that we've spoken to several times that can be hired to assist with this.
Please wrap it up.
In fact, they said right now, I'm done?
Well, just please wrap it up.
Yep. Right now, Raymond is the only one in Cumberland County they don't serve. It costs about $20 per property. They can basically start this out, open it up to registration, wait about 6 or 8 months, see how many are done, to help the town then figure out your fee structure. So as far as collecting data, that's how to do it. And I will close by just saying, please consider putting this forth with your recommendation. This did not come from the group of citizens. This came from your planning board after a lot of input. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Peter, I think you were next. Okay. Is there any other public comment regarding this article?
Yep.
Yeah.
Marilyn West. Westcott, 172 AI Road. We're residents, my husband and I. I spoke at the planning board, and I've tried to speak here, but is it too late is tonight what you approve what has to go on the ballot?
As far as I understand it, the warrant is not final in, yes and no. Tonight would be the last night that the select board theoretically would make changes. That doesn't mean we could not add another meeting, but we would be, the reason why we voted this the way that we have and done each motion is so that we have our recommendations. Then this will go to the Budget Finance Committee for their recommendations, and then we would sign for that final copy.
Okay, what I emailed you was just some cleanup things that maybe I didn't, if they can be considered before the final wording, that would be possible. What I just sent you.
I mean, it is possible, but I'm not saying that we are going to be considering your exact edits tonight. We've received them. I believe everyone has received them.
Okay.
Received
There's
a lot.
some basic conflicts within it, so the way it's written, I wouldn't vote for it. But if you can clean up things like, to clarify things, it might work better, such as when you say 1 calendar year from approval, but approval's not on a calendar basis. So calendar year starts January 1, and these are simple things, and some of the wording that conflicts one paragraph to another. That's all I would say, if you can clean it up before the final version that we see. I had suggested a third term, a definition of a casual rental that would be for some people who just try to rent their place for 1 or 2 weeks to help mitigate the exorbitant taxes, so they can maintain their house, that you consider something that would not be considered short-term rental would be like something 2 weeks or under if they rented, that they wouldn't have to go through this whole registration process. And then there were several other things. I will have time to do it tonight since it's limited. But I was originally saying we should not have, just to simplify it for the town, not have businesses in a residential zone, and then you wouldn't have to deal with all this. So since that was told to me that could never happen, I went through and tried to make this clearer with what your final version was. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comment?
Yeah, I really appreciate her comment there, and I just...
Sorry, Taylor, you have already spoken on this matter.
27 Baxter Road, are you limiting your freedom of speech here? What's going on? I just think she's right, because Airbnb has been a really big issue in the area. Separating residential and corporate activity is the issue as disclosed. So I just support her. I think she's got really good points. Not to say that she wants me supporting her. Mute me, Kayla. Do it again.
All right, any other further public comment? I'm not seeing any. Any questions or clarifications from the board? And I don't know when the best time for us to do this, but I do have some comments, so we can either decide if we'd like to sort of, usually we would do a motion and then do a discussion, but I think we can maybe go over our questions or concerns right now.
Sure. You want me to start, or you start, or who?
I don't mind starting. I typically don't. I still, I appreciate all the changes that were done. They reflect what we asked you to do, so I do appreciate that. From our last meeting last week, I'm still struggling, however, with section 3CD. And I think that's just because, you know, the idea of pitting neighbors against neighbors. So I'm wondering how the board feels about it reading this instead. The property has 3 or more documented instances of unlawful activity or violations, each substantiated by a written complaint submitted to the code enforcement officer, occurring during 3 separate and distinct rental periods. And I guess the reason why I say that is because I really feel like we should be treating all property owners in the same manner. So I can be a nuisance to my neighbor, but because I'm not a short-term renter, they can't make me not have my home anymore, or, you know, use the home that I want. So I could be a ruckus person with bonfires every night, and there isn't sort of that recourse. So I'm just wondering, to me, unlawful activity is something that can be proved and really isn't subjective. That's an objective thing. It's lawful or it's not. And then there would be documentation behind that, theoretically. So it's just my spitballing. I don't know. I know that Derek I think, also had something on this.
I do. That particular one, I don't like at all. I thought when we had talked last time, I thought that one was getting taken out. But I mean, if we can reword it, I think that's better. At least it's literally neighbor versus neighbor the way it's written right now and worded right now. I do think there's a lot of, the planning board's done a ton of work on here. You guys have done a ton of work, and everybody's trying to reach, a justifiable goal that, helps the town out. And I think it's good. I just don't think it's there yet either. And I don't, there's a lot of holes here that I believe they're kind of vague. So the holes in the vagueness, I think, are going to eventually lead to neighbor versus town or neighbor versus neighbor lawsuits. I think if we cleaned up and made them more black and white, we wouldn't have that issue. But it's getting there. It's definitely getting there, and I appreciate everybody's work on that. The planning board one I still think is a little tough for me to swallow, where they've done a ton of work on it, I believe, and there's meetings after meetings and hours after hours, so I give them credit for that, but no one recommended it. One person, I believe, recommended it, and then there was a few that thought they were not recommending it, but they were just not recommending it on here. But in all reality, they were, I think, not recommending the whole ordinance. It's that part of it coming to us is usually more defined and they're more as a board, as a whole board, more approval of what they've done and what they put forth. And I don't think they are in this particular ordinance. So I think we need some more time. We need to really hone this one in so we don't have another solar panel issue like we had before, where people rush it, get it through, and then all of a sudden we have a bigger issue and we have lawyers and lawsuits coming at us again. So that's my 2 cents.
Chris, did you have any comment?
Yeah, I kind of felt coming into the meeting that we should send this to the voters, and I'm still inclined to do that. I do understand, Kaylee, your concerns about lawful or unlawful activity that can be documented. I get that, and that would be a pretty clean, easy thing for the planner and codes to update before it goes on the warrant. I understand Derek's concerns. My concern is the same as far as the planning board not making a recommendation. Generally, they do. But this did have a lot of public input, a lot of back and forth, and I think we already have neighbors pitted against neighbors. I don't think that's going to change. We already have that. So I'm inclined to send it to the voters. How we do that, I'm not quite sure. Sounds like my fellow board members want to change some things, and I don't know if maybe we have, I hate to say it, maybe we have another meeting to go through this a little bit more. I don't know. I kind of feel like we're not all on the same page, and I don't know that it's going to pass as written.
Is that Sam?
Looks like it.
Sam, did you have anything to add?
I think he's trying to log off. He's in a
Yeah, I couldn't hear much because I think he
he's in
was
quite a bit of
trying.
pain,
You're right.
leg pain, and he said he was going to try to log off.
Well, if Sam comes back or indication he's back, Peter is at the podium.
Yeah, this is just a point of information, no comment.
And I'm sorry, I semi-introduced yourself, but.
It's
can you-
okay, Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. Just a point of information. I happened to be at that planning board meeting, so just to be clear, refresh me if my memory isn't serving me. The vote was 3-2. Jackie Sawyer and the chair both voted to recommend. And so someone can go back to the record and check it, but basically, that's my recollection.
Is it, I guess I don't know the procedure behind that, so if it, in fact, the vote was to not recommend, should,
My understanding was the vote was just that the select board asked them to write the ordinance, they wrote the ordinance, and they were just gonna put it out there with not a yes recommendation, not a no recommendation, just put it to the voters with nothing. That's what I took away from that vote.
It was without recommendation, so without that yes or no.
with just plain old without recommendation?
Just here
Yes
it
or
is
no?
back. We're not saying yes or no, we recommend or not recommend. That's what I took away from it.
They handed it back to the select board.
All right. Sam is still muted. Sam, I just wanted to make sure that you can speak if you want. Okay. I am prepared to make a motion if anyone would accept my edit on section C 5D, that the property have 3 or more documented instances of unlawful activity or violations. I guess maybe, is violations enough to say, because to me violations is more of a town thing, a town ordinance or, yeah, okay, just want to make sure that's clear. Do we need to make that more clear? I don't know. I'm thinking or violation of a town ordinance.
I think it's pretty clear because later on we already define what types of violations and what that process is later within there. So I think the term violation itself is sufficient. And then, yeah, that change to the unlawful activity, that would be, other things, maybe police report type thing, it would help maybe back that. That's what I'm imagining what that documentation would look like.
Okay.
I can say from a practical standpoint, I've never, in my 3 communities I've worked in, successfully documented a noise complaint. Usually by the time the Department of Health or the police get there with a decibel meter, whether it's the distance or whatever, it's a very hard sort of thing. So I doubt the sheriff would ever be successful with a noise complaint and a decibel reading, but so it would probably have to rise to a disorderly or some other sort of unlawful activity. But if you were thinking noise violations would get in there, I've never actually seen them successfully.
No, I'm not really thinking noise
Yeah.
violations, but I'm just want to make sure that, I'm trying to avoid some ambiguity, but make sure that it's,
Is all public comment closed?
sure.
I think Mark Meister, 13 Cedar Lane, and again, not about whose side, but it's to me the definitions of the appeals process, the definitions of violations, substantiated, who goes what where, how does this all work from somebody's upset about a property? What is that process? And I don't think it is very clear. Rental period. What's a rental period? How do you know what my rental periods are? Is that a day, a week, a month? There is so much ambiguity in the way this is written. And so I think I agree with lawful. I think that's a great, and by the way, we have noise, we actually have sound meters in our properties. We actually know 24/7 all of our sounds. So we would actually be able to dispute any of that on our side or be able to come back and prove it. We use a company called Minute, which does all the sound monitoring and automated alerting. So this is where there's so much technology, there's so much going on in this industry, there's so much that needs to be researched and done correctly, and I just feel like we're trying to fit this in, and we just don't, we're not comfortable. The town isn't comfortable, the planning board's not comfortable. Why rush this? And this, as we saw with another property, it will go to a lawsuit. And this will immediately go through ZBA, and everybody will start, and again, representing a variety of short-term rental owners that are all in the community, some residents, some not. They're all ready to go. They've got significant investments here, and they're not here to make profit off of Raymond. They just simply own property and have a place. And the last piece, on a personal side, for all the people who own lake properties, who got them in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and now they retired here to this wonderful life. They bought those in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. How is this next generation going to buy these properties and be able to be here in 20, 30, 40 years without renting them or without giving these people the option and the out-of-staters the ability to do this? It seems like we're really trying to create this town divide, and this is not going to help. Call your neighbor. If you have a problem with your next door neighbor and the property's doing something, pick up a phone, call them and say, hey, there's a bunch of people at your house. They're out of control. Deal with it. And if it's completely out of control, call the police. And we have 9 documented noise complaints in Raymond in 2024. 9. Why aren't people calling the police? This is a major issue according to this Raymond STR group. Why aren't we calling the police? Where is Cumberland County Sheriff? There's parties everywhere. There's giant things going on. We have a huge problem according to this other group. Where is the problem? So just please take time on this and do this right. We are in a huge evolution in this town. Now is not the time to pit each other against each other.
Thank you for your comment. I think I have a general sense of where we stand together as a board. And I think I would just like to point out that at any point of time, an ordinance can be amended. And I also take very seriously, the same thought process that I have towards adopting a town road is that this is not up to me, this is up to the voters. So I think our job is just to sort of make sure that the language is the best that it can be, that we sort of thought through all the problems. I do think this has had a significant time for public comment and discussion. I think it has been through the ropes. So I'd entertain a motion, or I'm prepared to make one, and we'll just see where we go from there.
I would just like to state, Kayla, I agree with what you just said. There was a lot of time and effort put in by the planning department and our planner and Jason, the code officer. And I think that you're right, it needs to go to the voters.
Okay, so I don't mind making a motion on this one. So I make a motion for Article 28 referendum question Z to be included in the warrant article. I'm probably butchering this, with a select board recommendation with the change of section 3C5D to read: the property has 3 or more documented instances of unlawful activity or violations, each substantiated by a written complaint submitted to the code enforcement officer occurring during 3 separate and distinct rental periods.
I'll second that.
And any discussion?
I still think I'd like to get, from just me personally, I'd like to get the planning board, since this is their bread and butter, to push something through that they actually like. And also just clean it up a little bit.
Any other discussion?
Kenneth got his hand up.
I think that's Bill's
I think that's the cursor.
Oh.
So I guess I will call for a vote. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Okay. Derek is a no. And Melanie, can you help me out because Sam would be abstaining? I think we still pass, but can you verify that for me?
Yeah, if he's not responding, we can note that he's abstaining, yes.
And so this would pass
So.
because it's still we have a quorum. One still abstained. We still have two. I guess can we look really quick at our bylaws to say if there's a minimum yes vote? So I just want to make sure we have this right.
There's a quorum and majority. We don't need a constitutional crisis on top of it.
Want me to pull it up?
I think it's fine, but
I agree with you, Kayla. I think it's fine. It's a majority of the quorum.
okay.
Participation. Let's see. Any action of the board shall require the affirmative vote of a majority of its attending membership of not less than 3 members unless otherwise provided by law.
Thank you very much for that clarification. So that does pass. Moving on to Article 29, which will be referendum question AA. I think. Shall the town of Raymond accept Tarkland Hill Road, Shady Lane as town roads, conditioned upon confirmation that these roads meet town standards? Any public comment? I've already heard some, but maybe there's more. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions or clarifications from the board.
I just want to add one thing. I don't think it messes up anything, but it says all members who are in attendance and not disqualified as provided herein shall vote in every matter to be voted upon unless excused by the chairman for good cause shown. Those in attendance in such circumstances who refuse to vote are regarded as having voted in the affirmative.
So that further.
I guess.
Sam is refusing to vote?
Should be absent, not abstaining.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I think you'd have to excuse him. Otherwise, I don't really know
I
how
think
to
it
interpret
still
that.
passes.
Yeah, because
Okay.
he would be voted in the affirmative.
I'm reading that it still passes. Okay, back to Tarkland Hill Road. Any questions or clarification from the board?
No?
Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we move Article 29, referendum question AA, with board recommendation.
I'll second that.
And any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you, Chris. All right. I think I had mentioned this earlier, but I'll just reiterate how the procedure is that now that we have voted on each article with our recommendation or not, the Budget Finance Committee will now have it and make their recommendations. Once there is a clean copy available, the board members will sign, and this will be for the final warrant. Just to make that clear. Can I get, oh, I want it to be done. Okay. Public comment.
Super thankful for your clarity there. I was wondering if you were just short-sighted and you admitted it.
Excuse me, Taylor. I have someone else at the podium. I'll call you next, okay?
Grace Levitt, Levitt Road. Two things, well, 3 things. Thanks for going through all of the warrant articles so carefully tonight. I appreciate the thoroughness and the various comments that were also made on various items. I just wanted to mention I was dismayed to read in the latest Roadrunner edition in the Wyndham Eagle that that's being discontinued. I'm not sure how or when that decision was made. I know that we've had issues for quite a while with postal deliveries in town and with getting the Wyndham Eagle. It seems to have been ironed out recently, and it's been very smooth. And so if that could be reconsidered, I would appreciate it. I do think it is yet another means of communicating things that are going on in the town. I know there's a lot of information on the website, but still, I think it's helpful to have multiple means of communications, especially to have it come to you rather than have to go looking for it on the website. So if that could be reconsidered, if it's a cost that can be absorbed, I would appreciate that. On the other item, at the recent Budget Finance Committee meeting, I'm not sure how clearly or unclearly it was stated what the current, and it's just a proposed school budget for the RSU 14 budget, how it was stated. It sounded like it was being presented as a very high increase, and really that's not taking into consideration that that's including the debt for the middle school, the vast majority of which is state subsidy. So it's not really a cost to the towns. Yes, there is a cost to the towns, but the vast majority of that increase is coming back from the state. So I just want to be sure that it's clear. Right now, the version 6, I think we're still on version 6, I don't think we're on 7 yet, is a 4.99% in our operational costs. And so just to be sure that we're being kept informed, it's not final yet. We do have another school board meeting tomorrow night with the last few cost centers we're going through, and the board will be accepting the proposed budget to go forward to the community at an April meeting, and then the community has the vote May 13th. So I hope that people will stay informed. Remember that Superintendent Howell came to the last Select Board meeting. The presentation is on the Raymond website under the minutes from the March 10th Select Board meeting. It's a great presentation. It includes an update on the middle school construction, or you can go to the RSU 14 website, and the minutes for the February 25th school board meeting also has his initial proposal to the school board on what the budget will entail. So please, I just want to be sure that that's stated correctly. I don't want misinformation out there thinking that it's a double-digit increase, because it's not. Thank you very much.
I had promised Taylor Winslow that she could go next.
Hi, I'm here. I don't remember that. Promised me to go next for what? I said my comment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's that you rush and you're not super considerate, and I don't know if you're from here.
Yeah, fine. Dennis Morse, 340 Cape. Where this is the first warrant reading and your vote, is it possible to know with accuracy what the surplus is unfunded balance? Because that 15% in that warrant towards the paying, the lowering the tax rate will be relative to that, right? What's in the surplus?
Do you want me to clarify an answer for the resident? So because we're behind where we normally would be with audited numbers, we'll have unaudited trial balances, and by the time you go to commitment and the board makes that decision, they'll have audited numbers. So the article authorizes up to an amount for fund balance, but we don't have the audited fund balance for FY25 yet, just unaudited trial balances. So by the time they make that decision, I hope to have FY25 audited fund balance so that they can make that informed decision when it gets closer to commitment.
Oh, so you think the audit will be in by then?
I think we'll finish the AP implementation this month, and then that reconciliation process. I think by the time you go to the town meeting vote, the town report will have the FY24 audit with an insert with projected unaudited balances. But I think by the time you commit, you'll have your audited numbers.
No ballpark, though.
I haven't run a ballpark yet.
I'm just curious.
No.
We've had trouble getting that in the past year, so thank
And
you.
I would hesitate to project a number that I can't, project at the moment. So I would rather not give something I can't promise, so.
I'm now going to go to Zoom for, I think it's Charlotte.
Good evening, Charlotte Carroll, 70 Webbs Mills Road, Raymond, full-time Raymond residents. I just wanted to thank the selectmen, the chair. I believe you have some of the planning board there and the town manager. You did a great job tonight reading all of the warrants and going through a very good process and double checking your bylaws. Good job.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment?
Not related to SDR. Just a quick update for the town. I did actually create a petition with the U.S. Postal Service, which did go to the major leaders of the state. We actually did get action from Susan Collins' office, who met with USPS leadership, who then split the routes and also have deployed a task force. And they've done a couple. They've already been notified of this, but that is why one of the reasons I think we've seen better mail service. So I think we are starting to get improvement there because of the action, because there's direct action at the DC level. I think these are areas where I'd love to see the town jump in and also kind of tack into that. So these are the types of things where I think the residents have been super loud. And how can we? It's great it came from me, but how can we get when it comes from the town? I think it'd be louder. So there are other issues like that. I think that can be really solved with a couple key letters to some key leaders.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment and move on to select board comment.
Got nothing.
I do have a little bit on the Roadrunner and the post office. There is a bunch of people have done a lot of work trying to get the post office back up to snuff because it was down pretty bad. I guess they're moving a new postmaster up from Tennessee, and they should be starting over the next couple weeks. And they said as of today, they are all back up to date on packages. There's not a holding pattern like they've had for the past months. And I did talk to people from the Roadrunner, and they said that the reason they stopped wasn't because of funding or anything up here. It was post office. When they go through all that work, create all those, and then send them out to the public, and they get there 2 months after they were published or 3 months after they were published, it was a waste of their time and money to do so. So I believe they are going to be back up publishing that. I don't know how quick. But they are going to give the post office probably another month to make sure they are staying on top of it before they continue to dump money into stuff that comes late. So.
Did you have anything else, Derek?
No, thanks for also, I'll reiterate what Carol said, especially with the changing of the numbers. You did pretty good.
I didn't bring enough water.
Same, I ran out instantly.
I do have a comment tonight that I would, and I understand, anybody who paid for advertising or putting their information in the paper probably felt like a lost cause because we weren't getting it. But I do think things have improved, and I would like to see the Roadrunner return because I feel like that is another way that we can get to people and reach people, especially those who are less tech savvy, and still open up newspapers and don't just use them to start fires. Which I look at the Roadrunner before I crumple it up and put it into the wood stove. So I think with the select board comment ending, I would look for a motion to adjourn. I'll make a motion. I make a motion to adjourn.
I was having so much fun. I was just going to stay. I'll second if we have anyone left.
And all those in favor?
That's a yes.
Thank you.